Hey everybody. Esther has very diligently organised as a way of encouraging us over this lead up to Easter to do short devotions each morning for us just to reflect on what it is that we are leading up to. But before I do that, I just want to invite you to stop and to pray with me before we just spend some time reflecting. So let's just pray. Lord Jesus, I just thank you that you are always with us. Lord, that you never leave or forsake us. Lord, I just pray that you would open our hearts up this morning to receive what it is that you have for us today. Lord, I pray that these words that are spoken would be your words. Lord, that you would convict hearts and that your spirit would just be moving powerfully, Lord God, this morning and just meeting us exactly where we're at. In your name, amen. So what I just wanted to share with you this morning is something that God has been teaching me a lot about over the last 7 months of being away in Manila, and that is the bigness of who God is. So for me, the last 7 months have been a really difficult time. There's been a lot of really challenging parts about doing life in Manila, about my job, about a lot of things, and I'd love to chat to you about that more personally. But on a large scale, what that has meant is that there's been a lot of compounding issues going on for me, and sometimes those issues have just felt so big. And when I've focused on those issues specifically, sometimes it has caused God to seem so small in comparison to those issues. And the more that I focus and fixate on them, the smaller God seems. And something that a couple of months ago, after a particular incident that happened, I woke up the next morning and God was just really convicting me. You need to worship me. You need to worship me before I fix this, before I show you the way forward out of this. In the midst of your pain, in the midst of you not understanding what I'm doing, you need to worship me here. And it was in the act of obedience, of choosing to reflect and remember how big our God is in the context of that God brought such healing to that space, and he actually did bring a way forward, but he didn't bring it before I worshipped him in the midst of that. And that's just been a really healing and beautiful lesson for me to learn, is that sometimes when we are dealing with these issues in our lives that just feel so big, that feel like life isn't going to be better until you fix this, God, that is so far from the truth. And God's plans are so much bigger than us. Like he has, from the start of creation to the end of this world, in his plans. And this moment right now, today, the things that you're facing today are a moment in time. They are a blip, and yet he cares about them. But part of the beauty of how we engage in that is that the more that we are able to focus on God and less on those things, the more strength we have to face those things. It's just this crazy reality that's part of the way that God has made us as humans. And so this morning, to help you do that, something I just want to do with you is to share a poem that I have written called This Man They Call Jesus. And it is basically just a reflection on the life of Jesus and the power of his life. And so I just encourage you just to take this as a moment to step out of whatever it is that you're going to face today, whatever it is that you've got in front of you, and just to sit in God's presence and just to reflect on who Jesus is, as we step forward each day towards meditating on the cross. I just want us to stop and actually just reflect on who is this Jesus, who is this God that we worship today. So as we do that, something I want to do just before that is just to invite you to close your eyes and just to step into a prayer with me. We're just going to stop for a moment because we've all had busy things going on this morning, most likely. And so what I just want to encourage you to do is just to take 4 deep breaths with me. So, and as we take those breaths, I just want you to invite you to say a prayer with me. So as we breathe in, I want you to just find the prayer of your heart this morning. It might be a simple word, I need you. It might be, Jesus, come. It might be, whatever your heart needs right now. I just encourage you that each time we breathe in, you pray that. And as you breathe out, I want you just to let go of the things that are heavy on your heart this morning. So let's just do that together. So we're just going to take 4 breaths and just stop for a moment. So the words are going to come up on the screen of the poem, just so you can reflect on those with me. This man they called Jesus. This man they called Jesus, of whom none could quite grasp, yet from least to the greatest, none too far from his touch. Conceived in scandal, his parents tainted by rumours, he owned all the world's riches, yet had no place to call home. At the time of his birth, angels sang to the dirty and disregarded, inviting to worship the King of all, residing in a quiet and forgotten cave. The constellations of the sky could not contain their celebration, with brilliant light foretelling redemption and renewal of creation. The whispers of the stars spread to nations east and west, compelling some to worship and others to seek paths of destruction. In only 3 short years, death ravished the land, desperately searching to quench the light of God's redemption plan. A young family forced to flee, once more without a home, aliens seeking refuge in a foreign land unknown. What would become of this life, welcomed by the song of angels and the stench of the stable, causing grit and glory to collide? As he grew older, he was all but forgotten, yet the stars still told his story, seen by few, yet known by all. Destined for carpentry, this little boy grew into a man, until a voice came from heaven, interrupting tradition and plans. He was called out into the desert and remained there 40 days. With no sustenance he waited till all his strength had been tested. Returning home, there emerged something new in his nature, words and deeds of power quenching hunger and thirst. Many watched, listened, and followed, yet none could quite understand his ways. Some were repelled by his fierce nature, others drawn to rest at his feet. Many he forgave, though the world called them worthless. Others he rebuked with truth that cut to the heart. At times he worked day and night, not relenting, and at others he withdrew to the silence of solitude. None could predict or contain him. He who slept in fierce storms, dwelt with the diseased and adulterous, and wept over a life he would save. Through this one life, many were freed from darkness, yet even more descended deeper, all bearing the mark of his life. Drawn by veiled forces, they tied him who had done no wrong. Compelled by fear, his friends did abandon, fleeing in the greatest time of need. He stood trial alone and in silence, many throwing accusations upon him. Though words could only contradict, they could not condemn him. Without cause, they cried for his murder. Whips pulled flesh to expose bone and marrow, the cries of the crowd revealing hearts of destruction. Dragging splintering wood, he pressed onward in faith, pleading for the forgiveness of those who condemned him. His body hanging, gasping in pain, naked and exposed on a wooden cross, he cried, Abba, Father, and laid his body to rest. The earth at receiving his breath burst out in grief, quaking and tearing and darkness descending. All seemed lost and forgotten, irredeemably broken. What now? What next? None could fathom. The earth shook again with shouts of acclamation, a life so pure, death could not contain it. He rose once again in might, power, and strength, bearing the cost of his love as a marking. He embraced those who abandoned and called child the one who denied him. He gave over his spirit to strengthen the flesh into power. Though he stayed but a while, his presence was lasting, creating and moulding a new body, diverse but united. When he comes once again to take home those to glory who are covered by the blood that he shed, all will bow before him and confess the truth of his story, servant of all, the holy Lord and King of glory. So that is just a poem that I wrote a couple of months ago that I hope helps you just to reflect a little bit on the life of Jesus and who he is and what he has done for us. And I just want to leave you with a question to reflect on as we finish up this video. I just encourage you to take a few minutes, if you can, sitting still or do it going about your day, whatever you need to do, just to reflect on these words and on this question. What do you need to lay down before the throne of glory so that you can worship God today? What is it that you need to let go of, that you need to surrender to Jesus today so that you can step into the act of worship, which is the only way that we will ever be freed of those things? I just want to leave you with a short prayer and then we will finish. Jesus, I just thank you that you are not far from us, Lord. You have tasted and seen struggle, suffering, joy, pain. You have experienced all of it, Lord, in flesh. Lord, you are not far from us. And I just pray that you would draw close to us, Lord, and that you would strengthen us to place you back onto the throne of glory today, Lord, to worship you, Lord. And I just pray that you would meet us in that act of worship where we need you to today. Amen.